All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. I appreciate everybody tuning in today. I know we've got some visitors from all over the globe, so good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever it might be in your location. We did have a good webinar this morning on the same topic, and we're going to cover the same material, so if you were with us this morning, you'll hear some of the same content. If you have questions, we can entertain them in the middle or just wait till the end, maybe better. But today we're going to be talking about the ActiGraph Study Admin Portal. I'm going to go ahead and get started here. You should see a control panel on your screen, and you should be able to enter in and ask questions through that if you'd like at any time. Just type them in there, click send, and we'll do our best to get to them. There's two presenters today. It's myself, Jeremy Wyatt. I'm the Vice President of Software Engineering at ActiGraph. Brian Bell is also with me. He's our software engineer and manager of the admin portal program, and he'll be with us as well, and helping field questions if they come in during the main part of the presentation. Just a quick overview of what we'll cover today. We'll talk a little bit about ActiGraph's differentiation as a company and our products and how they're different from other competitors. Talk a little bit about our solutions roadmap. Go into the ActiLife product just briefly and talk about where it comes from, where the data comes from in there, and then segue from there into the discussion on the Study Admin Portal, which is a brand new tool that we've just began offering and working with some clients to deploy. And then I want to talk about the future of that tool, and then at the end we'll do a brief demo of the Study Admin tool. So just a little bit about ActiGraph's differentiation. What is it that makes us different from others who are out there offering actigraphy solutions? A lot of you have known that we've been around for a long time, and we offer industry-leading validated solutions. So all of our outcomes that you see in our software and come from our hardware are validated outcomes that have been proven through time and time again in very large studies. We have a dedicated customer solution focus, and so we'll talk a little bit about that as we go. But I think the key to make here with these first 2 points is that as a company, we've been involved in some really large high-end, large-scale, multi-site, multi-year studies. Some of those include the European Youth Heart Study. It's over a 20-year period, this study. The NHANES study, the National Institute of Health Nutrition Survey, there's 13,000 subjects over a 3-year period. The TEDdy study, the Environmental Determinants of Diabetes in the Young, that's 7,000 children followed over a 15-year period. The Harvard Women's Study, 15,000 women over about a 15-year period as well. And so we've been involved in some very large studies and have a lot of experience in deploying devices and hardware and software solutions to large longitudinal study type scenarios, and we've done well with that. About 50% of our business is international, and the other 50% or so is stateside. So we have a very diverse background in those first two bullets there. Our company is still fortunate enough to be able to collaborate and develop some very flexible outcomes quickly. We're a small team, we're an agile team, and we're able to produce some rapid approaches to new ways of collecting and pushing forward solutions to actigraphy monitoring. We offer robust solutions. I've got about 100,000 devices deployed globally in 75 countries. Ongoing dedicated customer support, so if you call ActiGraph, you're going to talk to a person, and for the most part, that's one of our, in fact, that's part of our mission statement, is that we are dedicated to first-class customer service, and you'll find that if you call and talk to us, you're gonna be talking to a person, and we're going to get you helped out. The other thing I would mention that's not really on this slide is just that we've got a lot of experience in putting devices on people over a 24-hour period, and so what that buys you as a user is 24-hour monitoring, both activity and sleep together, and that really enlightens people who are looking to monitor chronic disease states like diabetes or cardiovascular issues or pain or asthma, and so our solutions are able to really reach a broad chronic disease base as well as a research base, and so just a broad-reaching company, and we're proud of that background. This is a roadmap that you'll find on our website of some of our solutions that we're working on today and that we're going to be working on moving forward. And you'll see on the left side of the screen is sort of the research environment. This is our traditional research customer. On the right side of the screen is the subject or the patient who's actually wearing our product and who's providing feedback to the researcher in the form of an objective measure or in the form of communication in some sort. You'll see on the left side is our ActiLife 6 tool, which we have been selling now for quite a while, about a year and a half. And ActiLife 6 has been a great tool for our researchers. We've recently added an application programming interface which allows you to programmatically interact with that application. So if you're interested in communicating behind a secure system, or if you've got third-party software that you'd like to control activity monitors, you can now do that through ActiLife. On the right side of the screen is sort of the subject-patient environment, and so we've developed a mobile application that's similar to ActiLife, but moving forward we're developing mobile applications that enable the subject to have a say in what's going on during a research project. So during a longitudinal study, what you might want to do is you might want to capture the data in real time and have that data pushed back to your research team or your clinical team. The mobile apps enable that, and so we've also got a small version of a subject-patient portal that's evolving, but it's not quite to the point that it needs to be yet. But today we're specifically going to talk about the research portal, and I've titled it Research Portal here, but you'll hear me say Research Portal or Study Admin Portal. And the idea is that you as a research team or a clinical team are able to manage a number of subjects and a number of devices through a single interface. And I want to talk a little bit about why that might be beneficial to you as a client. So what are some of our goals with the research portal? Let's talk just briefly about some of those. We want to provide validated outcomes for intervention studies. And so a lot of these interventional studies that we're coming in and helping out with, what we're hearing is that to date they have been capturing subjective information from surveys and from different means. We want to provide an objective means of providing information about your patients through this system. We want to deliver a turnkey solution that reduces errors in data collection. So right now our offering is not exactly turnkey, and so we're heading in that direction with the Study Admin Portal. We want to consolidate multiple subjects in a single view, and so you may have a lot of subjects in a particular study or a group of studies, and we want to provide a mechanism for consolidating the information that you gather from those patients. We want to provide near real-time data from those subjects, and so there's been some latency in the past, and we're working with this system to reduce that latency. So as patients are in the field, the idea is I may be able to gather data from them, even if it's sort of early data. It would still help me make decisions about what to do in a drug trial, for instance. And we want to focus on finite length studies. And so to date, we've offered a product that allows you to open-endedly collect data, and this system is focused on a finite duration study in which you are studying a specific outcome based on an intervention. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. A good segue into the Study Admin Portal is just a brief overview of the ActiLife tool. And many of you are familiar with that product. ActiLife provides validated results to our researchers, and I want to show you how it does that. So as we gather validation papers from customers who have, our clients and research groups who have done research with our device, we gather those papers in, and everyone sees them. The researchers see them, clinical teams see them. And so historically, the only method of utilizing the algorithms developed in those papers is to write your own code or write your own SAS code or put together some sort of Excel macro to look at that data and then process the data and then hope that it's validated or do your own validation on the data against the paper. But what ActiLife does is it consolidates those validation papers into an application that can be used to batch process data. And it's been a wonderful tool for that. We've got a lot of good feedback from customers who've used it. This screenshot illustrates sort of what I'm talking about. You'll notice in our wear time validation you can choose the Choi algorithm, which is a paper written by Choi and her group, and you can select that, and your outcome is validated against the same R code that you would have been able to get from the paper. And the same with all of our algorithms, so energy expenditure and METs and cut points. All of those are put into the tool, and that's the win for you as a customer, is that we've done the back-end work to sort of make it easy to use these validated outcomes and sort of leapfrog you into getting your data quickly. So some common questions that we get about ActiLife from clinical teams who are using this for the first time are, what measures do I need? A lot of times they're interested in learning about objective measures of actigraphy, but they've also been inundated with other things that are related to a clinical trial. For instance, they may be looking at doing a study on diabetes, and so they're interested in the protocol and how do we collect blood samples and how do we study those. They know that in order to see if their drug is effective in improving the health of their population, they need to look at some objective measures of actigraphy, but what specific measures do they need? They just don't know. And what's the workflow for using these monitors? I've got a box of ActiGraph devices. How do I put them into action? What's the first thing I do? How do I train my staff to configure these devices and deploy them? That's always a question we get, because you as a user, you realize and know that these devices are little computers, and they're not simple black boxes, and so it takes a little bit of learning to understand what you're doing with the device. And then how do I manage inventory? I mean, some of our customers have thousands of these, and how do they manage them? Historically, we've provided some leasing options, and we've helped track inventory and have helped them maintain, what's the latest device? Do I have the latest? So how do I, what's the method for doing that? What's the best way for me? Other questions we've heard is, can I gather data from the field rather than in the lab? Can I start to get data from my patient while they're wearing it? And can I expose this data to my patients? I might want to show my patient their improvement. I might want to encourage them. Some protocols discourage that, but some ask for that. And so that has been a question that has come up. And so that is a good segue into the study admin web portal that we've developed at ActiGraph. And the idea is, with this system, we want to simplify the deployment of devices and the collection of data and the management of your patient group. And so the screenshot that you see here is just an illustration of some of the information you might capture from a single patient. But just to summarize some of the key points, it is a turnkey solution. It's a cloud-based application, and so the data is stored and processed in a cloud-based solution. And that's a good thing for a lot of reasons that I'll talk about momentarily. It is a study-based system, so you're collecting data for a specific study, and as an organization who is using the tool, you are allowed to have multiple studies, and so you're able to choose and look at metrics from each study, and each metric might be different for each study. It's the same validated algorithms used in ActiLife. In fact, our team is working today to consolidate those code bases so that if you want to look at your CHOI wear time validation in ActiLife, you would have the same CHOI wear time validation results in the study admin portal, and it would be the same code base, and so it's the same type of data. Study-specific measurements, and so you as an organization may be interested in looking at MVPA, for instance, while another organization may be interested in looking at steps per minute or counts per minute, and so we can customize that to meet that need based on what type of study you're doing. And inventory management is a part of the system, so I'm able to see which devices I have in the field, who they belong to, and which devices are ready for deployment. And then the system, we're working now on regulatory compliance with the system to meet some of the needs of our customers. And I'll just mention that that our devices, as you know, are FDA compliant. We're working now with the system. Compliance, regulatory compliance, is just an evolving entity. You never actually achieve the panacea that is perfection there. And so we're working with our customers right now to understand what type of regulatory needs are there so that we're sure to meet those with the system. And we've been blessed with some customers who've allowed us to understand and work through what's needed there. But specifically, some of the CFR regulations, we're working through some of those today. So what are the required components of the study admin portal? In the past, if we were talking about ActiLife, I would have a list of things, but It's really pretty basic. You need an account with us, and this is an account that I can set up from ActiGraph and deploy to you pretty quickly. The cost for that is a monthly per patient pricing model. And if you're interested in pricing, we had a few ask about it in the earlier session. I would encourage you to send us an email to sales@actigraphcorp.com, and we can get you a quote. Because it is a per patient model, it varies for everybody. The admin account includes a small software application that we call ActiveSync, and there's a screenshot of it on the bottom right there. It's just a really lightweight Windows-based application that enables the system to interact with your device when it's connected to your computer. And so very small application and very simple to use, and I'll show you in the demo in just a moment how it works. And then, of course, the only other required component are our device monitors. And so the Study Admin web portal is compatible with our GT3X Plus or newer devices, and specifically I'm talking about the CLE serial number devices. So CLE and older or newer, devices are compatible with the system. And so you can check to see if your monitors are, and if not, we can upgrade them. Just a brief graphic on the architecture of the system and how it's organized. I mentioned earlier that we're able to customize what each organization sees, and so what you see in this graph is a red box around organization-specific items. And so each organization will have their own device inventory. They'll have their own studies. Each study will have its own configuration criteria. Today, that configuration criteria is one step up. It's actually all studies have the same criteria, but we're pushing that down so that if you have a study that's a pre-screen, you might be interested in just looking at step counts, but then during the treatment time, you may be interested in looking at counts per minute, kcals, and MVPA. We'll be able to provide that eventually, but today it's the same across all. But each organization, the organization of the system is that the device inventory can apply to any of the studies that you have going. One device can be applied to any study at any given time, and then each subject that's wearing a device will roll up underneath a particular study. And so if I have a patient over here in the pre-screen, study 1 for instance, once I've completed that, I can move them to study 2, and the system manages that for me. And so you'll see how that works just briefly. And so how do we get going with the Study Admin portal if someone calls us up and says, hey, I'm interested in using this tool? There's a pre-configuration that has to happen. We work with your team to discern which metrics or which data items you'd like to collect for each patient. And so, an example of some biometric measures and data that we would collect might include the subject ID. We shy away from using real names because of HIPAA requirements. So we might collect a subject ID and then height, weight, gender, etc. So we would work with you to configure which of those metrics you would like to collect for each patient on configuration. And then we would also pre-configure the desired outcome. So if you're interested, for instance, in MVPA, then we would work with you on what your MVPA output would look like in the system. If you're interested in cut points, we would work with you to get those cut points in there and help you select which ones make the most sense. Now, I will pause momentarily to say, go back to one of the first slides. I mentioned the question that we get often is, which metrics do I use? We are by no means qualified to tell users which metrics to use. We can offer up references to papers which show, for instance, cut points for adults, but I can't go out and say that if you use cut points, Friedson cut points, that it's going to be a valid outcome for your particular study. And so we at ActiLife, because we've been involved in so many studies and have such a rich base of researchers that we work with, we are able to connect those researchers to some of these clinical teams. And so if you're looking to decide which measures make the most sense, we can work with NCI and NIH and these larger groups to understand which metrics might make the most sense. But as a technology company, we're just in the process, we're just in the business of providing that solution, not necessarily discerning the scientific end of it. But we will work with you to help you decide which one makes the most sense or which ones make the most sense, and get those into your system. And then we'll define the study types and durations. And so each organization might have multiple studies. I gave the example already of a pharmaceutical company might have a pre-screening, 1-week period where they're pre-screening their patients, and then once they come back, they might start the treatment study. And so the system is able to divide those up. One might be a 7-day, one might be a 30-day, and so it's able to display accordingly. And then install the ActiveSync software and connect a device, and that's really all there is to it. And so at the touch point, at the actual screening location, your lab assistant or your technician would literally have a small application, this ActiveSync installed, and they would connect a device. And whenever a subject comes in for their screening, at that point, your assistants would then assign that device to the subject. And so how does that work? Let me just show through a few screenshots here, and then we'll actually go do it. So once ActiveSync's installed, it's a small little application. You'll see a small A in your Windows taskbar. Once a device is connected, though, that A will turn yellow, detecting the presence of that device. And the ActiveSync application will then ask the user if they would like to assign that device to a particular patient or subject. And once they've done that, they'll click Assign Subject Now. They're brought to a screen that gives them this customized view that we've worked with the team to define. And so this is an example from one of our customers. They wanted to collect subject identifier, date of birth, gender, weight, and wear position. For you, these might include what was the patient's blood pressure at the time, what was their blood sugar. We can collect any metric you wish to collect at this time. We can also validate the measure. So, for instance, this particular customer had a specific definition for the subject identifier that met the format 000XXX, and so once you entered in a number, if it was incorrect, the system will automatically validate against that format and tell you if it's wrong. And so immediately the win here is that you get built-in validation and less errors in deployments. Once you've entered the information correctly, however, the system will simply proceed with initializing the device for you and preparing it for deployment. And so hopefully this screen makes sense. I have a 2-monitor system, and I took a screenshot, but on the left side is the ActiveSync application, and you can see it's taking an action on the device. It's initializing it. On the right side is the web browser that I had open, and it's showing the same progress. And so you can see the direct interaction with the web-based system. It's they're communicating in real time and configuring that device and preparing it for deployment. So that's it. Once the device has been prepared, it's ready to be placed on the patient. And based on your protocol, you would then instruct them, don't take the device off ever, or just take it off, at night, or whatever the protocol calls for, and then the subject is immediately on their way. So once they come back after their treatment period or after the prescribed time period for their study, you're going to capture the data then from the device, and it's the same process. You're going to connect the device. ActiveSync will detect the presence of the device, except now it recognizes that device, and it recognizes that it's associated with a specific company and a specific study. In the screenshot I'm showing here, you'll see that in this demo, it recognized that the device belonged to ActiGraph company, and it was associated with the ACSM study. We just got back from ACSM, and so we had a few of our reps wearing the device, and so we used that to do some demos. But so it recognizes that and pushes the data up to the cloud. And the process that happens is pretty straightforward. The device is connected at the workstation. It's sent over to a database, and it's securely stored. And that database is processed using those validated algorithms that we talked about. Once that processing is completed, the data then appears on the screen for the user to review quickly. And so all this happens really quickly. For a large data set, I don't want to quote times, but I mean it's a matter of seconds. I mean, you're not waiting hours for your data to process, and so That's a huge win for some of our customers who need to get feedback during a pre-screen. Perhaps if a patient didn't meet their required prescribed wear times, they need to know that immediately, and so the system is able to provide that. And this slide sort of goes into that a little bit. The overview of the data is available immediately, and so here's a screenshot of a dashboard for a sample study looking at steps per day. So as soon as that data is pushed to our server and processed, you're able to then see it on the main dashboard view. And then you're able to get a little more granular and look at each individual subject in a grid. And so, for instance, subject 197, what's his average daily steps, his min, max. And based on your configuration, you may be interested here in seeing total time spent in moderate to vigorous activity. And so you would then see that in this grid. And then you can drill down further and look at the patient. Here's a patient 01. I'm able to see information about the patient. I'm able to see wear time information, how many days of the total days that they wore the device did they have greater than 50% wear time, how many steps average per day, what did their breakdown of cut points look like, then what does their minute by minute data look like if I zoom in further. And so you're able to get as granular as you're able to get in ActiLife, except you have to pre-configure what you want to see up front. And so I think that's the big difference that you'll see in this system, is that it is turnkey and it is simpler. Some other benefits of the system, we've already talked about the fact that it validates your setup automatically. So if you work with us and decide that you want a specific measure, you know what the format of that measure should be, then you can provide some strict instructions on that formatting and ensure that all of your data formats match, regardless of who's entering that data. The system optionally can require the device to be charged to 100% level, and so with our devices being fielded at 2 weeks at a time, we want to make sure the device is fully charged before deployment. That way you're not losing any data because of a battery loss, and so the system can be configured such that ActiveSync will not allow the device to be initialized and deployed until the battery is fully charged. Another nice benefit. The data is secure, it's consolidated, meaning that it will be shareable. If it's on the web, then I can easily share it with my colleagues. And then at the bottom there, you'll see the exportable report. We're working, in the next slide I'll talk a little bit about it, but we're working to make these reports exportable to various formats that meet the needs of some clinical teams. So what's coming up in the future? We talked about these desired measures. We want to make that self-configurable. So if you decide that you would like to look at MVPA in addition to a metabolic measure, you'll be able to add that yourself. Today, that is a custom configuration, but we want to make that self-configurable and dynamic. CFR compliance, I briefly spoke about that. We're working with some of our clients now to make sure we meet their regulatory needs, because we at ActiGraph would be audited by the company themselves, who are preparing to collect the data, and we have our own FDA guidelines that we have to meet, but we also need to meet those higher regulation requirements for secure data storage and transfer. EMR export compatibility, we'd like to offer the option to export data into specific EMR formats. We're working now and have a prototype of a mobile application that allows in-field uploads from subjects. You'll notice on the third bullet there that this system will be compatible with our new low-profile Bluetooth low-energy monitor, which is coming in Q3 of this year. And so the idea is we would offer an iPhone app initially that would capture data from patients in the field in near real time and upload that data wirelessly through the mobile device up to the system periodically throughout the day as the user is prompted to do so, and also provide some feedback to them through the application, maybe about their progress, or maybe asking some questions about their daily activities through patient-reported outcome data capture. So we want to offer that option as well, and that's something that we've been hearing a lot about, and so we've got resources today that are working to make that happen. We want to also make available heart rate variability calculations, and so our latest WGT3X Plus device can collect heart rate data from a compatible ANT heart rate sensor, and that heart rate data is not just beats per minute, it's actually the R to R value, and so from that we can do some variability statistics, and so we'd like to offer that as an option in the system as well. Patient alerts, so if they cross certain thresholds with, for instance, heart rate variability or low levels of activity for a number of days, give that patient an alert or give the clinical team an alert. And then also offer the option of a subject-facing web portal. I'd love some feedback on that. Our focus right now is basically on the mobile device, offering a mobile solution and giving the patient sort of an interface back to the research team through a mobile app first, and our second priority then being on the web portal itself, giving them the option to see things such as protocol requirements and communication through a web portal. But I'd love to hear from our group and see what the opinion is there, what the priority should be there. So that's really the presentation for today. I'm going to do a demo next, but just a reminder about what makes ActiGraph different from the others, and we're proud of our reputation, and we want to continue to provide these solutions that meet the needs of our growing customer base. And I feel like this system is where we need to be based on what I'm hearing from customer groups. And again, I would appreciate feedback from you, because that's how we have evolved over time. Has been involved with a lot of research groups, organizations, and individuals who have given us great guidance on solutions that will help them with their day-to-day tasks and jobs. And I feel like this system, again, is sort of heading down the right path. But if you're interested and have some great feedback, I'd love to hear it, so please get in contact with me. So just a brief demo of the system. We've talked about how the system is able to detect the presence of a device and assign that device to a particular subject or in a particular study. So if I connect a device, you'll see that this device has not been used in any study, and it's new. And so ActiveSync recognizes that, and it says, would you like to assign that to a particular person or subject now? And if I click OK, I'm going to be prompted with a website that basically provides those validated measures that we requested, that the customer requested we gather on deployment. And so I'm able to go ahead and set that up. 7. Just some mock data here. So once I've configured that, you'll notice if I type in something that doesn't meet the validation requirements, the system will validate against that and let me know I'm making a mistake and will not let me proceed. And so I'm able to make sure all my formatting is right, make sure all my fields are required and captured. And then once I've elected to assign that device, the system will go ahead and initialize the device and prepare it for deployment. And you'll see that once it's complete, it tells me that it's ready to go. And so it's a lot simpler than trying to deploy a device in ActiLife, which has quite a few measures, and it's a great tool. I don't mean to sound like I'm talking bad about our ActiLife tool. It's meant for the research population. It does a tremendous job of serving that population. But this system is really focused on turnkey, simple solution for getting the device on the patient, getting those validated outcomes to the customer. So that's a demo of deploying a device, and really that's all there is to it. So if I unplug this device, I can then put it on my person and wear it for the prescribed time, bring it back, and then upload the data. And so I have a device here that has data on it. It's already been assigned to a study. And if I connect that device, you'll see that ActiveSync recognizes that it's associated with the ACSM study, and it just begins to upload data to that study. And that data then becomes visible through the web portal, and it just brings that up and shows you that in a nice, easy to read view. And so what we're able to do with this is provide some custom views for anybody who's interested in looking at, I'm interested in looking at cut points for that particular patient or cut points for my entire group. I'm able to see that quickly in the views. And so that's what I'm presented with here. So I've got my patient information on the left, some information about validation or wear time validation on the right. This is my particular device. I'm averaging about 43% per day, so I'm not doing real well. Here's my cut point breakdown based on the Friesen cut point, adult cut point values. And then here's my daily measures. I'm able to see those in this graph. This is my steps per day breakdown. And then if I want to drill down further, I can drill down to a particular day, and I'm able to see breakdown for that day, that specific day, cut point values as well as steps per minute. And so this is evolving, and as we add more metrics into here, they'll become visible and we'll be able to demo those. Back up at the dashboard level, you'll notice that I'm able to choose the study of interest, and I'm able to switch back and forth between multiple studies. And this graph can be adjusted to meet the particular need of your organization. And so if you're interested in looking at the comparison between, say, a placebo group and an actual treatment group, we'd be able to provide a bar graph that compares those two. If you're interested just in a breakdown of MVPA or wear time, you're able to see that here. And then, of course, a breakdown of each subject at the bottom. And then just a note about the inventory. Here's a list of my devices that are associated with each study. So I've got my ISPOR study here. I've got 3 devices associated with 3 different subjects. My ACSM study, I've got 1 device associated with 1 subject, and then I have 2 unassigned devices that are available for redeployment. And so this helps me manage what I have. We plan to add more to this later. You might see us add what's the firmware version, what was covered in that firmware update, what's the age of this device, is it available for trade-in, and so we'd like to augment the system and make it a little more useful as far as an inventory management system as well. So that's sort of the high-level overview of the Study Admin web portal, and it's a great time to take questions if we have any, and if not, that's okay. But we're going to go ahead and field those, but we'll post this webinar on our website at ActiGraphCorp.com, and I'll just show you where that's located. In case you're interested, you can check out our support page, and then at the middle right here there's a webinar section, and all of our webinars are posted there for review, and so we'll be adding this one this week. So I'll pause for any questions that you might have, and be glad to go through those at this time. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions come in, so I'll assume that I was good enough to answer them all in the presentation. So if you do have anything that comes up or any questions that you'd like to address, let us know, and we'll be glad to hit those through email or through our support line, or you can just send an email directly to me. I did have one question from Linda about updating GT3X's. Linda, if you'll send an email to sales@ActiGraphCorp.com, Brooke Henderson will answer your email, and there is an upgrade program for GT3X devices, and she can offer you a trade-in allowance on those devices. I had a question earlier in our first webinar regarding which device should I use. And so that was a good question that I'd like to come back to and just mention that our GT3X Plus line of devices that you'll see under products here on our website, these Plus devices, that's going to be our latest model, and we're just going to continue to build on that model. So anything that has a plus after it is going to be the device that you want to buy if you're looking to collect data. The beautiful thing about these monitors is that they do collect raw data, and we are able to go back and use that data in a lot of different ways. And so someone asked, well, what if I want to collect steps. So, how do I know what to collect? These devices collect it all, and you don't have to pick and choose. There's enough memory and enough battery life to get all of your data for about a 30-day period, and so they should work in pretty much any scenario. Linda's asking what the W in front of the GT3X means. So we offer a WGT3X Plus and a GT3X Plus. The W implies that it is wireless and is compatible with the ANT Plus protocol. And so if you're going to use the device to talk to our ActiLife mobile application, or if you're going to use it to do some things in ActiLife that are supported, or if you're going to collect heart rate data, you would want to purchase the WGT3X Plus. As I mentioned in the presentation, we are working on a WGT3X Plus BT, a Bluetooth model, and that Bluetooth model will be used to capture data through the end user mobile application to push data to the study admin portal in real time. So I had a question from Madeline that says, if I upload here instead of ActiLife, can the data be saved in the same formats? Yes. We're working on that now, Madeline, and so a few of the customers that are using this today are not using ActiLife, and so we're experimenting with the best ways to do that. But our plan is to allow you to get the data out and do processing in ActiLife with it eventually. And so today, no, but eventually, yes. Question about if you don't need wireless, is the GT3X Plus as good a good option? They're the exact same devices. One has wireless, the other does not, and you'll get the exact same data from both. So yes. Got a question from Jameen. Will the device be tied to the same subject after the device being initialized with ActiveSync? Yes, and so I think, let me try to answer this the best way. If I connect a device and ActiveSync detects it and I assign it to a particular subject, for instance, this subject 01 here, it's associated with that subject until I disassociate it through the web portal. And so if I upload data with that device and then disconnect the device and continue to wear it, that device will remain associated with that subject. And it will remain that way until I click the Stop Collecting Data button on that subject-specific page. And once I click that, then it will basically set that device into a storable state, and you'll be able to put it back into inventory at that point. Jameen asked if you can associate another device to the same subject just in case the unit gets broken. No, it's one device, one subject right now, and so basically if the unit dies or something happens to the device, then on their next visit, or if you detect it from their in-field uploads, then you can send them a message and say, hey, we need to replace the unit. But right now it's just one device, one subject. But you've touched on something that is sort of a good reason that we're doing this in the first place. A lot of times you don't know that device is broken until your lab assistant is capturing the data, and then the researcher has to screen that data and look through the information. And a lot of times you don't even realize the data is not there until the study is complete and over. With this system, you know as soon as the data is uploaded if you've got a problem. And we're setting flags like you see wear percentage on the screen now. That's a flag to say, hey, if you're expecting them to wear it all day, they're not. And if they say they are, there might be a problem with the device. And so you're able to see those things quickly in this tool. Another question from Jameen: the template in ActiLife. Those won't be compatible with this system, but you will eventually have the same measures from ActiLife in this system, that and you'll be able to choose those. So. Question from Linda asking about the advantage of the plus components of the GT3X. Yes, I'll be glad to tell you what the advantage is. So our older devices, the GT3X models and older, collected data at the epic level. In other words, the data was filtered on the device to remove noise, and the user was forced to select a particular sample rate, a particular epic level. So 1 second, 2 second, 5 second, 60 second epic buckets. They're also forced to choose whether they wanted to collect step counts or ambient light if the ambient light sensor was available on that model. With the GT3X Plus device, the data that is captured is the raw data, and so you're not forced to actually detect or choose at the time of initialization what data you want to collect. We're able to do more on the back end with that data later on, because all the data is there for mining. And so a lot of our researchers have appreciated that and have actually used the raw data to do some pretty advanced analytics, pattern recognition, and different things to actually look at the data coming off the device and better categorize activities. Okay, so a question from Madeline. The portal is asking, does it allow for storing the raw outputs from the device? It provides the outputs we pre-configured. So today, Madeline, in the state that this system is in, what you would see in the system would basically be what you want to see, what you work with us to configure. And so if you're interested in looking at cut points, then that's what we'll display. However, the data, the source data, from which that data was derived, can be downloaded from the system, and so you could download that data and process it in another means if you wish. All right. If there are any other questions, be glad to answer those. Just please send us an email. You can send it to support@actigraphcorp.com. I would encourage everybody to definitely check out our knowledge base online. So if you go to our support page here, and if you click on knowledge base right here, you'll be taken to a forum that has a lot of information about all of our products, about all of our software, and a lot of questions that you may have may already be answered there. What you won't see in the help forum yet is the study admin portal, because it is so new, and we'll be adding that shortly. But a lot of questions about the devices and about our existing ActiLife software, they are answered here, and they may touch on some of your thoughts as well. Well, I appreciate everybody tuning in, and thank you for your time, and I look forward to working with all of you guys in the future. So hope you have a great afternoon or morning or evening, wherever you might be. Take care.